October 2023. I was 19, working the closing shift at a photo studio. This wasn't your typical bright, happy studio. It was tucked away in the basement of a massive retail store. Think dim lights, echoing silence, and a general feeling of being cut off from the world. It was the kind of place you'd expect to find in a horror movie, especially with Halloween just around the corner. As I clocked in, my manager and co-worker were getting ready to leave. They mentioned a family was already in the camera room, and my boss gave me a little nudge. "Try to do a pull-in," she said, which is our term for trying to upsell customers. Offer them some free prints to get them interested. While we were chatting, I saw him for the first time, a man dressed in a bright orange prison jumpsuit, complete with fake-looking plastic chains that clinked when he moved. It was the middle of October, so seeing someone in a costume wasn't totally out of the ordinary. But there was something off about this guy. He wasn't shopping. He didn't have an appointment. He was just lurking, pacing back and forth in this dead-end aisle in the basement where nobody ever goes unless they have a reason. My boss, always the salesperson, went over to talk to him. I was busy with the next family's check-in, so I didn't hear what they said. By 3:30, I was completely alone. The family session went great. Lots of smiles, camera flashes, and the editing was a breeze. But when I peeked out of the studio door, my stomach dropped. There he was. The guy in the prison jumpsuit was sitting on the parent bench right outside, casually swinging something that looked like a prop crowbar. It was weird, but I tried to brush it off. It's almost Halloween, right? My boss popped her head in one last time before leaving for the day. "Getting some weird vibes from that guy," she said. "Andrew's going to check on you soon." Andrew was the manager from upstairs, my lifeline if things got weird. After finishing the edits, I stepped out to call the next family. "I'll be ready for you in just a minute," I said, forcing a smile at the man. But as I got closer, the light caught the crowbar. It wasn't plastic. It was real, cold steel. My heart started pounding against my ribs. He just kept swinging it, his eyes glassy and unfocused, muttering something about it being his turn. I quickly ushered the waiting family inside, my professional smile feeling like a mask. From inside the camera room, I could see him through the doorway. His behavior was getting more erratic. He'd slump over on the bench like a puppet with its strings cut, his head drooping as if he'd fallen asleep. Then, just as suddenly, he'd snap awake, his body twitching. He kept getting up and trying to come into the studio, and I kept telling him he needed to wait. He just wasn't listening. The family I was photographing, a single mom with her 2 young kids, were clearly uncomfortable. The kids were hiding behind her legs, and the mom kept glancing nervously toward the door. The studio, once just a quiet workplace, now felt like a trap. We were isolated in the basement, with no sounds of shoppers or footsteps from the store above. It felt like we were in a soundproof box with a monster just outside. He kept barging in. "When's my pictures?" he'd demand. His voice slurred. My hands were shaking so badly it was hard to use the computer mouse to edit the photos. Finally, it was time for the family to check out. As the mom came to the counter, he loomed over her shoulder, peering at her family's pictures on the screen. The mom had had enough. "Can I help you?" she snapped at him. He just mumbled some incoherent nonsense. She then leaned in close to me and whispered, "Are you okay?" It was all I could do not to break down. I grabbed a receipt and scribbled a note. "He won't leave. Manager coming." Then, a small miracle. Her credit card was declined. Our store policy for a declined card was that the customer had to be escorted to the registers upstairs to try another payment method. This was my chance. I told the mom we had to go upstairs. I didn't even hesitate. I grabbed her kids' hands and we practically ran out of there, leaving all our belongings behind. Once we were out of sight, the tears finally came. I was a mess. I explained everything to the clerk at the salon near the escalators. The man, the real crowbar, the stalking, the terrifying isolation of the basement. He immediately paged Andrew, the upstairs manager. The mom gave me a huge hug. "I was not leaving you down there with that freak," she said. And I've never been more grateful to a stranger in my life. We waited for what felt like an eternity. 15 long, agonizing minutes. I cautiously peeked back toward the basement stairs. He was gone. Later, Andrew came and found me. What he told me sent a chill down my spine. When Andrew had gone down to confront the man, the guy had completely lost it. He flew into a rage and hurled the steel crowbar at Andrew's head, narrowly missing him. It took mall security to drag him out of the building, and he was screaming threats the entire time. I had to finish my shift alone. But I locked the studio door and turned on every single light. Halloween was still weeks away, but I had already met a real monster. And to this day, I still jump at shadows in basements. Thanks for listening to my story. It's a reminder to always trust your gut and look out for one another. If you have a creepy story of your own, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more true stories. Stay safe out there. Halloween was just around the corner, but my boyfriend Jake and I weren't in the mood for scares. We craved romance, a quiet escape from the city. So, we booked 2 nights at Montalk Manor, a charming little inn upstate. We had no idea what we were walking into. The pictures online showed a cozy, historic building, perfect for a fall getaway. Neither of us knew it was famously haunted. When we checked in, everything seemed perfect. The lobby was warm and inviting, with a crackling fireplace. They handed us the key to a room on the 3rd floor. But as soon as we opened the door, a wave of something foul hit us. It was a rancid, sour smell coming from the mini fridge, like something had died in there weeks ago. It was unbearable. We immediately went back downstairs. "Is there any way we can switch rooms?" we asked, trying to be polite. The front desk clerk was happy to help and moved us to room 2011 on the 2nd floor. This new room was a major upgrade. It was much more spacious and even had a huge private deck. Stepping outside, we noticed a strange detail. A stone gargoyle perched on the corner of the railing. Its back turned to us like a silent, brooding sentinel. "That's quirky," we laughed, shrugging it off as part of the manor's old-world charm. We unpacked our bags, excited for the weekend ahead, completely oblivious. That first night was pure bliss. We were so tired from the long drive that we fell asleep almost instantly, dreaming of the scenic hikes and leaf peeping we had planned for the next day. The bed was comfortable, the room was quiet, and the foul smell of the first room was a distant memory. We slept soundly without a single disturbance, feeling completely at peace. But the second night, that's when everything changed. At exactly 2 a.m., Jake shot bolt upright in bed. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. I was still half asleep, but I heard it too. The distinct ding of the elevator arriving on our floor, echoing down the long empty hallway. It was strange. The manor felt completely deserted. We hadn't seen any other guests since we checked in, and it was the middle of the night. Who would be arriving now? There was no sound of luggage, no voices, no late-night partygoers. Just that solitary, chilling chime. Then came the thud. Across the room, the decorative pillow on the armchair suddenly fell to the floor. It didn't slide off or slowly tip over. It toppled straight down, as if someone had deliberately shoved it with force. My heart started pounding in my chest. "Must be the wind from the deck door," I murmured, trying to find a logical explanation, trying to convince myself more than him. Or maybe just some late guests finally checking in, Jake added, though his voice was tight with unease. We were both trying to rationalize it, but a seed of fear had been planted. Sleep was now impossible. We turned on all the lights and just lay there, whispering about anything and everything to fill the oppressive silence. We talked nonsense until the clock on the nightstand showed it was 4 a.m. We had made it past the witching hour. "Okay," I said, trying to sound brave. "I think we're safe now." I reached over and flicked off the lights, plunging the room back into darkness. Sleep eventually came, but it was shallow and fitful, haunted by a sense of being watched. It couldn't have been more than 20 minutes later. My eyes snapped open. I was wide awake, my chest tight with a suffocating, nameless dread. It was a primal fear, the kind that claws at your throat and makes it hard to breathe. There was no sound, no shadow moving in the dark, just an overwhelming wave of pure panic. My entire body was screaming at me to get out. "Jake!" I gasped, my voice barely a whisper. He stirred beside me, and I could hear the tremor in his voice when he answered, "What? What is it?" I didn't have an answer. All I had was instinct, a raw, animalistic terror that told me we were in danger. Without another thought, I leaped out of bed. My bare feet slapped against the cold wooden floor as I flung open the hotel room door and stared into the empty, dimly lit hallway. Seeing nothing, I rushed back inside and slammed the door shut. Our eyes met across the room, and in that moment, no words were needed. We saw the same wordless terror reflected in each other's faces. "We leave, now," I said, the decision absolute. All thoughts of a romantic weekend vanished. It was a mad scramble. We threw our bags open, stuffing clothes in haphazardly. Toiletries tumbled onto the floor. Forgotten. In the middle of the chaos, a hysterical giggle bubbled up from my throat. The sheer absurdity of it all, us fleeing an invisible threat in the middle of the night, was just too much. Jake shot me a glare. "This isn't funny," he snapped. "Hurry up!" We finally grabbed our bags and burst out into the hallway. Standing there, waiting for the elevator, was torture. The button just mocked us with its tiny light. Every creak of the old building sounded like a footstep behind us. Every shadow seemed to twist into a menacing shape. It felt like an eternity. Was it 5 minutes? 10? Finally, the metal door slid open with a groan. The descent to the lobby felt just as long, the portraits of stern-faced ancestors lining the walls seeming to leer at us as we passed. Their painted eyes followed our frantic escape. When we finally stumbled into the lobby, the night clerk was sitting behind the desk, looking amused. I've been meditating, trying to surround myself with white light and positivity, but all of it feels hollow, useless against this lingering dread. The fear followed us home. I keep texting Jake, asking the same terrifying question over and over. Do you think we brought it home with us? I can't get the image of that stone gargoyle out of my head. Its blank stare, its back turned to us as if it knew we were intruding on something we shouldn't have. We learned the hard way that the ghosts of Montalk Manor don't always stay buried. And sometimes, a Halloween weekend is more than just an invitation to be scared. It's an invitation for the darkness to follow you home. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have any similar experiences, share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more true scary stories. Stay safe out there.